विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम तत्सत् हरि ओम तत्सत् हरि ओम तत्सत्. So we are reading this extraordinary book, Ashtavakra Gita, and we have seen that in the first chapter itself, Janaka asked certain questions. Katham jnanam avapnoti, katham muktir bhavishyati, vairagyam cha katham praptam, etad bruhi mama prabho. So how can I get liberation? How can I be totally renouncing the whole world? How can I get the knowledge? So they were the questions which was asked by Janaka, who himself was on the verge of enlightenment. He was ready for enlightenment. And therefore, the powerful words of sage Ashtavakra were enough for reaching the state of super consciousness for Janaka. अष्टावक्र के जो शब्द थे वो इतने प्रभावी थे, उसका उपदेश इतना प्रभावी था कि तुरंत राजा जनक को ज्ञान प्राप्त हो गया. That is because he was King Janaka, who was already almost what he was on the ignition point, you know, and just a little spark was required for that ignition, and therefore he was enlightened at once. And therefore, in the second chapter, he describes the state of enlightenment in the second chapter. How is his experience of enlightenment, the experience of the spiritual awakening which he had. So now in the third chapter, Ashtavakra is asking very sharp questions to Janaka because he wants to confirm that whether the state of enlightenment which Janaka described in the second chapter, is it something like self-hypnotism? Because with such a great advice, one can feel that, oh, he has reached the state of super consciousness. Maybe one can have the state of super consciousness also. One can touch the state of samadhi or super consciousness. So maybe he has touched the state of super consciousness, therefore he is able to describe it. But when he is in day-to-day life, because he was king, he had so many responsibilities. So he wants to know whether that state of enlightenment remains even in day-to-day life also or not. And that is why Ashtavakra is asking very sharp questions to Janaka. In the third chapter, many questions were asked to him, and particularly regarding the whether he has any lust, whether he has any greed, whether any sexual tendency has remained in him. Has the king become free from all worldly attractions? Is the king sure that there is no iota of desire left in him? So that is what Ashtavakra wants to confirm, whether this is only temporary phase, whether he is feeling that he has got that supernatural state or state of super consciousness, or whether it is retained in him. Okay. So now we are coming to chapter 4, in which Janaka is answering those questions, you know, which were asked by whether you are having lust, whether you are having greed, and particularly some sexual tendency still left in you. Actually, very disturbing questions. An ordinary person can feel offended, really speaking. Even if Guru is asking such question, a person is likely to get offended. Now, what we see in the fourth chapter, the 6 verses which are there in the fourth chapter, the first thing which is to be noted is in no way Janaka is offended. Why? Because there is no ego in him. Who will be offended if an element of ego is remaining? That is how the Guru tastes also. That if Many times the gurus, there are incidences where guru abused, give lots of abuses to Shishya also. Swami Nityananda, it is said that he used to throw stones at the disciples, thinking, seeing whether how they react. You know, the egoistic reaction is immediately judged. So probably that was one of the intentions of Ashtavakra Guruji or the Rishi Ashtavakra to see. In no way, as we shall see in the 6 verses which we are going to study today in the 4th chapter, he is not at all offended in any way. Very calm and quietly he continues his description. And second thing which we shall note it, in all these 6 verses, you find he's not referring to himself as me or mine, or these terms do not come anywhere in this in the 6th chapter. Me and mine, मैं ऐसा अनुभव कर रहा हूं, ये मेरी अनुभूति है, इस प्रकार का अहंकारिक स्वरूप किसी भी श्लोक में हमको मिलता नहीं है. That is the 4th chapter which we are going to see. So with that little bit of background, now let us go to chapter 4, which is in which Janaka is answering the queries of अष्टावक्र ऋषि. अष्टावक्र ऋषि ने जो प्रश्न पूछे थे उनका उत्तर अब जनक दे रहे हैं. सो जनक उवाच हंतात्म हंत आत्मज्ञस्य धीरस्य खेलतो भोगलीलया नहीं संसारवाहिकै मूढ़े सह समानतः. So Hanta is a kind of exclamation. Oh my God, a man of wisdom, Atmadnyasya Dhirasya. That is a man who has realized the self, who is a man of wisdom. So having realized the self, he only sports with whatever experience come his ways. Khelato bhoga leelaya. Whatever experiences come to him, they are like the play of Maya which is going on there with him. So he sports with whatever experiences come his ways. He can never be compared with a fool carrying a burden of the world on his mind, in his head. नहीं संसार वाही के, जिसके मन में संसार बसा हुआ है, जिस संसार का बोझ जो ढो रहा है, उसके साथ उसकी तुलना ही नहीं की जा सकती. ऐसे आदमी की जो आत्मज्ञ है, वो केवल जो कुछ भोग होते हो लीला के समान देखते रहते हैं. तो जनक बोलते हैं कि आत्मज्ञानी सत्पुरुष जीवन में आ रही है अनुभूतियों को केवल लीला या खेल के रूप में जानता है. उसकी तुलना संसार का बोझ सिर पर लेकर चलने वाले मूर्ख के साथ कभी हो ही नहीं सकती. So indirectly he's telling that in no way he is having any responsibility of the kingdom or the luxuries or anything as a king. Whatever he's doing, it is only like a bhoga leela, like the sports. He is observing his own life as if some sort of leela is going on. सर्वसामान्य मनुष्य दुखी क्यों होता है? क्योंकि हमारी जो अनुभूति जीवन में आती है वो हमारे लिए बोझ हो जाती है. बिकॉज वी आर अटैच टू द एक्सपीरियंसेस विच वी गेट इन लाइफ. दोज एक्सपीरियंसेस बिकम पेनफुल फॉर अस, स्ट्रेसफुल फॉर अस, गिविंग कष्टमय हो जाता है हमारा जीवन. क्योंकि हमारे पास वो अन्न वस्त्र निवारा की चिंता हमेशा हमें खाई जाती है. कल क्या होगा मालूम नहीं. At least I should be able to provide food for me and my family. I should have this roof, hmm, anna, vastra, nivara. These are the basic things and many other. But at least three. तो इसका बोझ तो हमारे सिर पर होता ही है, इसकी चिंता तो होती है हमें. समाज में मेरी प्रतिष्ठा कैसी रह रही इसकी चिंता भी होती है. व्हाट विल पीपल टॉक अबाउट मी, व्हाट विल बी माय इमेज इन द माइंड्स ऑफ द पीपल, दैट आल्सो आई स्टार्ट थिंकिंग. लोग मेरी बुराई तो नहीं करेंगे मेरे कार्य के वजह से, या अगर कोई महामारी कोरोना जैसी फैल गई है, मेरा शरीर भी तो रोगग्रस्त तो नहीं होगा. ऑल सॉर्ट्स ऑफ, दिस इज कॉल्ड बोझ. संसार वाही के, नहीं संसार वाही के बूढ़े सम, जो संसार में है उसके ये सारे बोझ उसके सर पर होते हैं. शारीरिक रोगों का, समाज में प्रतिष्ठा का, अन्न वस्त्र निवारा पैदा करने का. सो इसके कारण हमारी जो हर एक अनुभूति है हमारे लिए तान तनाव ही पैदा करने वाली होती है. वी कैनॉट ऑब्जर्व इट एज ए स्पोर्ट्स एट ऑल. वाइल आत्मज्ञ, he observes everything. Even if misery comes, it is only the sports which is going on. Okay. So आत्मज्ञानी पुरुष जीवन के सारे अनुभव केवल नियति की लीला मानता है. और जैसा खेल में हम आनंद ही लेते हैं. इफ यू आर रियली स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन, यू विल नॉट बॉदर अबाउट डिफीट एंड win. You will say that, oh, the sport is going on. Even the opposition team, somebody plays well, you will appreciate as equally as the player from your. First of all, your team and opposition team will not be there for Atmagyani. It is because me and mine has gone. हमें इंडिया और पाकिस्तान का मैच चलते समय भी we cannot see it only as a sports and game and really enjoy the game itself. If we are defeated, if they win, हॉरिबल, मूड ऑफ जाता है. और पाकिस्तान में तो ऐसे लोग हैं, हम लोग तो देखते ही है कि टीवी टूट जाते हैं. सो मच ऑफ एंगर इज देयर व्हेन पाकिस्तान लूजेस. दे ब्रेक डाउन द टीवीज. व्हाट टीवीज हैव डन फॉर यू? ओके. व्हाई? बिकॉज ऑफ द अटैचमेंट. माय टीम इज डिफीटेड मींस आई एम डिफीटेड. आई गेट डिप्रेस्ड. आई कांट सी इवन द स्पोर्ट्स as a third person, as a prekshaka, as a sakshi. You know, how can I see my own experiences as a sakshi? So what Janaka is telling, that I have reached that state. Janaka is telling that I have reached that state where every experience is a kind of sport only for me. मेरी जो कुछ अनुभूतियां मुझे आ रही है चित्रपट जैसी है. जस्ट एज वी एंजॉय द मूवी, whether movie is tragedy or comedy or anything, we enjoy it because inside we know that whatever is happening, I am only a witness to it. I am only an observer. मैं केवल प्रेक्षक होके वो जब देखता हूँ तो मुझे आनंद आता है. इसी प्रकार अपने जीवन को प्रेक्षक होके जो देखते रहता है उसे न सुख है न दुख है, ये सब उसकी लीला चल रही है. सो दिस इज व्हाट द फर्स्ट ऑब्जर्वेशन विच जनका मेक्स, दैट हंत आत्मज्ञस्य धीरस्य खेलतो भोग लीलया, नहीं संसार वाही के मूढ़े सह समानता. तो जो आत्मज्ञानी पुरुष खुद के जीवन में जो कुछ अनुभूतियां आ रही है उसको लीला या खेल के रूप में ही देख रहा है, उसकी तुलना संसार का बोझ जिसके सर के ऊपर है उस मूर्ख के साथ कैसे की जा सकती है. सो दिस इज व्हाट ही इज टॉकिंग अबाउट हिमसेल्फ, दैट he whatever duties he is doing, whatever is happening in his own life, Janaka's life, he is seeing it only as a leela. That is the first thing, is भोग लीला. जो कुछ अनुभूति है, जो कुछ भोग आ रहे हैं, केवल उसकी लीला है ऐसा वो देख रहा है. यत्पदम प्रेप्सवो दीना शक्राद्या सर्वदेवताः अहो तत्र स्थितो योगी न हर्षम उपगच्छति. So a yogi who is established in that highest state, that highest state which even Shakradya means Indra, hmm, the supreme state of consciousness, the state of glory, even Indra and other gods strive hard to get it. इंद्र तो देवों के देव है, हम्म, स्वर्ग के देवता है, सारे स्वर्ग सुख उनके पास है. But is Indra ever happy? Indra is not ever happy. You know, whether he is always worried whether my position will remain as it is or not. I am the king of all the devas. I am the king of the heaven. I am at the crest of happiness. He knows that. But whether I will be able to stay in that state or not, this worry is there for Indra. And we know about so many stories in which if somebody does some tapas and becomes very great, Indra is worried that whether he will replace me with my thorn or not. Okay, and therefore he then sends the some nymphs or some other type of even the danavas to destroy his tapas. Okay, so what a wonder, he says. Aho. So this word aho comes now and then in all the verses of this. So aho, he says, what a wonder, the highest state for attainment of which Indra and other gods strive hard. Shakradya sarvadevataha. Shakra adi sarvadevataha. Indra and even other gods, they strive hard to reach that state of highest super consciousness. Aho tatra sthito yogi na harsham upagacchati. But the yogi who has attained to that state, he is not very excited with that. Na harsham upagacchati. So he is not having some extra, he doesn't have any type of excitement, any type of feeling of attainment, feeling of success. He just established that. Now, here, one thing which we have to remember is that highest state of attainment is full of silence, which is above even bliss. Silence is even above bliss. So, tatra sthito yogi, ऐसे अद्वैत स्थिति में जो योगी होता है वो आनंद से भी परे शांति महाशांति में होता है. He is not excited, he is not worried whether I will be able to stay there or not. So the thing which even Indra and other gods strive hard, one who is establishing that state, he is in total silence only. आत्मज्ञानी योगी आत्मानंद में सब कुछ पाता है. उसमें ऐसा पूर्णत्व प्राप्त होता है कि उसको कुछ भी पाने की इच्छा नहीं रहती और वो आनंद के पर्य जो शांति है वो शांति में स्थित होता है. And the state of silence is even higher than the state of bliss. This is what actually Janaka is pointing out in this particular verse. Now the third verse, तज्ञस्य पुण्य पापाभ्याम स्पर्शो ही अंतर न जायते नहीं आकाशस्य धूमेन दृश्यमानापि संगति. So the knower of that, tadnyasya, one who knows that, what? The Atman, the Brahman, the Supreme Consciousness, one who knows that Supreme Consciousness, one who has been established in self-realization, is not touched by virtue or vice, punya papa abhyam. The idea of papa and punya will come to only a person who is in the world, who is bound by what we call as karma siddhanta. जो कर्म सिद्धांत से बंधा हुआ है उसको पुण्य पाप की भावना होगी. वो सोचेगा कि अब मैंने पुण्य काम किया तो मुझे अच्छे दिन मिलेंगे, पाप कर्म किया तो बुरे दिन हो गए. दिस इज कर्म सिद्धांत. As you sow, so you reap. ते झाद परिताप फला punya apunya hetutvat. That is what Patanjali says. That if you practice virtue, you will have happiness. If you practice sin, you will be miserable. Now, a person who has gone to that Atma Jnana, he is beyond Karma Siddhanta. He is not acting at all. The action, because there is no ego, there is no action from his side, and therefore there is no idea of punya and papa in him. पुण्य पापाभ्याम स्पर्शो ही अंतर्न जायते. पुण्य एंड पाप डजंट टच हिम एट ऑल. पाप और पुण्य का स्पर्श ही उसको नहीं होता है. कैसे स्पर्श नहीं होता है? वेरी ब्यूटीफुल सिमिली विच वी हैव स्टडीड मेनी टाइम्स. नहीं आकाश से धूमे न दृश्यमानापि संगति. जिस प्रकार आकाश जो होता है उसमें धुआं अगर है, धूल अगर है, बादल अगर है, तो उससे वो आकाश को स्पर्श नहीं कर पाते. वो आकाश को किसी भी प्रकार से they cannot make the sky impure because of the smoke. Sky doesn't become impure because of the dust, because of the smoke, because of the clouds, because they do not touch the sky. In no way sky will become impure because of smoke or dust or clouds. In the same way, sin and virtue do not touch a person of self-realization. So ये तो because he is beyond the action, he is beyond कर्म सिद्धांत. तो सर्वसामान्य मनुष्य कर्म करता है, इसलिए पाप पुण्यों के बारे में सोचता है. जो अहंकार रहित हो चुका है और जो आत्मज्ञानी आत्मबोध से है, वो कर्म से भी परे चाहता है. और आकाश जिस प्रकार बादलों से या धुएं से मैला नहीं होता, उस प्रकार पाप पुण्यों का मैल उसके ऊपर चढ़ता नहीं है. सो दैट इज ही रिमेन्स एवर प्योर. नथिंग एक्चुअली makes him impure at all. That is what he wants to say. Now the fourth verse, आत्मेवेदम जगत सर्वम ज्ञातम येन महात्मना यदृच्छा वर्तमानम तम निषेधन्तु क्षमेत कहा. Yadrucha, very important word is there. A great man who knows that self alone is the entire world. Atmaiva idam jagat sarvam. आत्मा एव इदम जगत सर्वम. ये सारा जगत केवल आत्मा ही है. ज्ञातम ये न महात्मना. जो महात्मा ये जानता है कि ये आत्मा ही पूरा जगत है. One who knows that self alone is the whole world. यदृच्छया वर्तमानम तम निषेधुम क्षमेत कहा. सो whatever work destiny gives him, who will prohibit him? जो यदृच्छा से कार्य उसके तरफ आता है, वो करने से कौन उसे रोक सकता है? Now what Janaka wants to tell is, Janaka is doing work as a king. You know, राजा जनक आत्मज्ञानी होने के कारण जो यदृच्छा से उसको कार्य उसके सामने आता है, वो कार्य वो करता ही है. राजा का कार्य कौन सा होता है? राज्य का कारोबार देखना, न्याय करना, प्रजा का रक्षण करना, ये सब राजा के नियत कर्म होते हैं. वो नियत कर्म तो करता ही रहता है. वो कैसे करते रहता है? यदृच्छा से. समथिंग ही डजंट सिलेक्ट इट. his ego is not involved in that work. यदृच्छा में ईश्वरी इच्छा. ईश्वरी इच्छा से जो कार्य उसके सामने आता है वो करते जाता है. यदृच्छा से करते जाता है, स्वेच्छा से नहीं. हम सब स्वेच्छा से कार्य करते हैं. स्व इच्छा, स्वेच्छा. वो यदृच्छा से कार्य कर रहे हैं. तो नियत कर्म. Ashtavakras question is that whether you are still engaged in the day-to-day activities of the kingdom or not? He says yes, but यदृच्छा से, स्वेच्छा से नहीं। जो कुछ मेरे सामने आता है मैं करते जाता हूँ, वो यदृच्छा है, यानी ईश्वर की इच्छा। जो ईश्वर के इच्छा से हो रहा है, जो मेरा नियत कर्म है, वो कर्म मैं करता हूँ। तो यहाँ यदृच्छा, ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण शब्द है इसमें। यदृच्छया वर्तमानम तु निषेधुम क्षमे का, ऐसा अगर यदृच्छा से कार्य होता है, तो हु विल प्रोहिबिट सच एक्शन, बिकॉज ही इज नॉट डूइंग इट ऑन हिज ओन आल्सो। तो इसलिए जैसा भगवत गीता में करना कहा है ना, भगवान श्री कृष्ण ने, नियतम कुरु कर्मत्वम कर्मजायो य कर्मणा। जो नियत कर्म करता है, नियत कर्म यदृच्छा से आपको प्राप्त हुआ, नियति ने आपको जो दिया हुआ कार्य है, वो जब आप करते हैं निरीच्छा से, यदृच्छा से करते हैं, तब वो कर्म कर्म होता ही नहीं। कर्म जायो अकर्मणा, it becomes non-action. Action becomes non-action. And that is what Bhagavad कर्मण्य कर्मया पक्षेत अकर्मणि च कर्मया सबुद्धिमान मनुष्येषु शयुक्त कृष्ण कर्मसु। One who sees action in inaction and inaction in action, he is a jnani. Because while doing action, he is as if he is not acting at all. Though he is doing action, he is not acting at all. क्यों? क्योंकि वो यदृच्छा से कार्य होता है। That is the thing which is told here by uh, Janaka to Ashtavakra. So though he is engaged in his kingly duties, he is doing it in such a way that it doesn't create papa punya. It doesn't create any effect. It doesn't give karma phala. It doesn't lead to karma at all. It becomes akarma in the language of Bhagavad Gita. Karmani akarmaya pashet. So that is what he says. Now we come to the fifth shloka in this particular chapter. A Brahma Stambha Paryantam Bhutagrame Chaturvidhe विज्ञस्यैव हि सामर्थ्यम इच्छा अनिच्छा विवर्जने. So, of the four kinds of being, a Brahma Stambha Paryantam Bhutagrame Chaturvidhe. Chaturvidhe, four types of living beings. Bhutagrame Chaturvidhe means four types of living beings. There are in all four types of living beings in this world. What are those four types of living beings? We have learnt it earlier also. They are called Udbija, Swedaja, Andaja, Garbhaja. So they are the four types of living beings. Udbija, जो पृथ्वी से उत्पन्न होते हैं, उसको उद्भिज, arising from the earth. All the trees and plants, they are also jivas. They arise directly from the earth. So the such jivas which arise directly from the earth, they are known as udbija. स्वेदज, ऐसे जीव जो स्वेटिंग से निर्माण हो जाते हैं, स्वेदज. So those which are born out of sweat, certain germs, bacteria, they are born out of sweat. तो उसको स्वेदज कहा जाता है. अंडज, जो अंडे से जन्म लेते हैं, all the birds, they are अंडज, they are born out of the eggs. And गर्भज, or it is also known as jarayuj, those who are born from the womb. Many animals, even human beings, so they are called as garbhaja or jarayuja. So they are the four types of jivas, and they are a Brahma Stambha Paryantam, right from Brahma, the creator, up to Stambha, that is the blade of grass. Right from Brahma to the blade of grass, there are four types of living beings. Andaja, Swedaja, Udbija, Jarayuja. Okay, so four types of living beings is there. Vijñesyeva hi samarthyam ichcha anichcha vivarjane. Only the realized soul can act without likes and dislikes. All other jivas which are there, right from Brahma to the blade of grass, only the man of wisdom can renounce what we call as desire and aversion. Ichha, anichha, vivarjane. He has no likes and dislikes. All other jivas, they will act because of likes and dislikes. Whatever they dislike, they will avoid. Whatever they like, they will go after it. All the jivas. Only the man of realization will have no likes and dislikes. This is the characteristic of a man of realization. So, our script, the whole universe from Brahma to the blade of grass, A Brahma Stambha Paryantam, consists of four kinds of living beings, which we have seen. All these living beings are bound by the law of karma, and because of their actions, they are motivated by desires, and therefore they suffer. इच्छा अनिच्छा, कुछ करने की इच्छा है, कुछ अवॉइड करने की इच्छा है. Only the realized soul goes beyond likes and dislikes. इच्छा अनिच्छा vivarjane. And if he is like that, he is not bound by any action. That is what is said in earlier verse as well. That is why he is free from. What Janaka is trying to tell is, even though he is doing his duty, there are no likes and dislikes when he is doing his karma. There is no desire as a motivating factor behind his action, and therefore his actions do not bind him. That is what he is saying. So, I have told this story earlier also. What is the difference between an enlightened person and a person of ordinary person? Ordinary person is attached to all actions. Enlightened person is a witness to his own actions. And we know of that Zen person. The Zen, there was a Zen saint. Before enlightenment, he used to go to the jungle, he used to cut wood, he used to make bundles of those wood, he used to go to the market, sell the wood, earn money for his livelihood. That is how his life was going on. He got enlightened. And then he was asked, what is the difference in your lifestyle before enlightenment and after enlightenment? So he said the same thing, that before enlightenment, I used to go to the jungle, I used to cut wood, I used to make the bundles of the wood, I used to go to the market, I used to sell it, I used to earn money, and that is how the life was going on. After enlightenment, I see myself going to the jungle. I see myself cutting the wood. I see myself making them bundles. I see myself selling. That means he had become only a witness. He was not involved in any action. This is the difference between man of realization and the ordinary man. Ordinary man gets attached to the actions. The man of realization is only witness to his action. That is what Bhagavad Gita also says. Pashyan shrunvan sprushan jigran nashnan gachan shwapan shwasam pralapan visrujan grunnan nunmishan nimishan napi indriyani indriyartheshu vartanta iti dharayan. Very beautifully said in Bhagavad Gita. Pashyan shrunvan sprushan jigran. देखते समय, खाते समय, पीते समय, even while excreting. A man of realization, a sthita prajna, is seeing that only indriyani indriyartheshu vartanta iti dharayan. He becomes only a witness that this is what I am seeing myself doing. I am not doing myself. My ego is no more involved in that. So this is what the difference between a man of realization becomes witness to his own actions, and therefore actions do not bind him. Now verse number 6, it says, Atmanam advayam kaschit janati jagadishwaram yadvaiti tasya kurute न भयम तस्य कुत्रचित. So, Atmanam Advayam Kaschit Janati Jagadishwaram. Kaschit Janati. Now, this state of non-duality, only a very rare person can reach that state of non-duality. Rare indeed is a person who knows non-dual self alone. Atmanam Advayam Kaschit Janati Jagadishwaram. And he becomes the Lord of the universe. He is as good as Lord of the universe. Jagadishwaram. Yad veti tasya kurute, na bhayam tasya kutrachit. He does what comes his way. यदृच्छा से जो भोग उसको भोगने पड़ते हैं वो भोगते रहता है. In no way he is concerned with anything that is happening. He is totally detached. Okay. So he does whatever comes his way. He therefore is not afraid of any consequences. न भयम तस्य कुत्रचित. किसी भी प्रकार का भय रहता नहीं है. जो आदमी इच्छा से काम करता है, one whose motivating factor behind his action is desire, वो कर्म और कर्मफल के बंधन में पड़ जाता है. One who is doing the thing yadruchaya as if it is will of the God, Jagadishwaram. ईश्वरी इच्छा से ही जो काम करता है, अपनी इच्छा से, स्वेच्छा से नहीं करता है, केवल ईश्वरी इच्छा से करता है, उसको किस प्रकार का भय रहेगा? पाप पुण्य किसी भी प्रकार का भय उसको रहता नहीं. जिसने अद्वैत आत्मा को ही जगदीश्वर के स्वरूप में जाना है, वह सब कुछ ईश्वरी इच्छा से ही करता है. ईश्वर इच्छा से ही करता है. उसे कहाँ किस चीज का डर पैदा होगा? सो राजा जनक अष्टावक्र को कह रहे हैं कि वे जो कुछ भी कार्य कर रहे हैं राजा के रूप में, वो केवल जगदीश्वर की इच्छा के स्वरूप में कर रहे हैं. और इसलिए कोई भी कर्म बंधन में फंस जाने का कोई बात ही नहीं है, उसको भय भी नहीं है. You know, this is one of the things which has been told again and again in the Upanishad. One who is in a state of non-duality, one of the sides is abhayam. You know, Swami Vivekananda always used to say that if there is one word which is resonating throughout all Upanishad, it is abhihi, abhihi, abhihi. Fearlessness, total fearlessness. Why fear is there? Fear can come if another is existing. If you are in advaya sthiti, द्वैताद्वय भयम. भय की उत्पत्ति क्यों तैयार होती है? द्वैत की भावना से ही भय की उत्पत्ति होती है. Fear arises because of the concept of duality. If somebody else is there, I am afraid. Whether I have fear about another. If I am in non-dual state, there is nobody to be afraid of. So fearlessness. न भयम तस्य कुत्रचित. उसको किसी भी प्रकार का भय नहीं रहता है. So one who is free from ego is involved in selfless actions. He functions naturally, spontaneously, यदृच्छा से, जगदीश्वर के इच्छा से ही वो काम करता है. His actions express the will of God, Jagadishwara. He neither owns credit for his action, not discredit for his action, and such a person becomes totally fearless. So that is what Janaka is describing as his state of enlightenment. Now still there is time, so we shall go to the next chapter, number 5, which is the chapter of dissolution, लय, जिसमें लय की साधना अष्टावक्र ने बताई गई है. So in the last chapter, Janaka has described the state of super consciousness in which he is acting only through the will of God, and therefore he has become fearless. So he's now in the entire chapter which we have read, Janaka is not saying that I have reached that state because that I am not there. He has not used that word me and mine anywhere. मैं और मेरा ये कहाँ भी उसने उपयोग में नहीं लाया है. In no way he is irritated because of the test which is taken by Ashtavakra Muni. Because Ahankara is not there. That is how, in a very subtle way, Ashtavakra is testing the state of consciousness of Janaka. You know. Now, another very subtle thing is told by Ashtavakra to Janaka. What Ashtavakra is telling is, now you have to become one with the supreme consciousness. Your individual consciousness has to merge totally with the universal consciousness. How that total merger will take place? It will take place through Laya. Okay. So Laya Yoga Sadhana अभी बता रहे हैं अष्टावक्र जनक को. So in this chapter number 5, which we are going to study now, there are 4 verses. And all the 4 verses, Layam Vraja, Evam Eva Layam Vraja. That is what every verse is ending with these letters, Evam Eva Layam Vraja. Thus, that dissolution should take place. That is what he is advising. Now we know that we exist at 4 levels at least. You know, we exist at the physical level. So we have physical existence, we have the existence we have mental existence, we have intellectual existence, we have the ego in us. So in these 4 verses, 4 types of laya have been told by Ashtavakra to Janaka. 4 प्रकार के लय, शरीर का लय, देहाभिमान का लय, मन का लय, dissolution of the mind, dissolution of the intellect, and finally, the most important, dissolution of I consciousness, the ego consciousness. If all these 4 are dissolved in universal consciousness, you will be universal consciousness. That is what Ashtavakra is trying to tell Janaka. But as we shall see, this is also a very, very subtle kind of test which Ashtavakra is taking to Janaka. How it is test we shall find. ये भी बहुत बड़ी गूगली बॉल एक प्रकार की डाल रहे हैं कि जो समझ में आना भी मुश्किल है. इसमें कौन सी परीक्षा है ये समझ में आना भी मुश्किल है. इस प्रकार की परीक्षा वो ले रहे हैं. इट्स अ रियल गूगली. वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू रीड सच गूगलीज, you know. But of course, Janaka does that. We shall see. In the next chapter, we shall see this. But 4 kinds of dissolution has been described in this particular uh, chapter. So, Ashtavakra Uvacha, Name Sangosti Kenapi, Kim Shuddham Tyaktum Ichchasi, Sangam Sangaghata Vilayam Kurvan, संघात विलयम कुर्वन् एवं एव लयम वज. संघात means this body, the body mind complex. So he is asking him to dissolve the body mind complex. You are not attached to anything. Nate sangosti kenapi. Ashtavakra is telling Janaka, oh Janaka, you are telling that you are not attached to anything. So you are not attached to your body also. Why you are keeping this body? Why don't you dissolve this body? Nate sangosti kenapi kim shuddham tyaktum ichchasi. Now you are the pure one. What you can renounce now? You are the pure one. What you can renounce? You can dissolve the body-mind complex, attaining the merger. Okay, what is remaining with you is this body-mind complex, संगात. जिस शरीर से तुम काम कर रहे हो, अब वो शरीर का उपयोग क्या है तुमको, उसका लय कर दो. The first stage of dissolution is at the gross level of the body and senses. बिकॉज दिस बॉडी देहाभिमान यही तो हमको अलग कर रहा है, एंड दैट इज व्हाट इज सेपरेटिंग अस फ्रॉम द यूनिवर्सल कॉन्शियसनेस. सो द फर्स्ट डिसोल्यूशन is the dissolution of body and senses. Okay, so now the Ashtavakra Rishi is telling King Janaka about the dissolution of body and senses. Is he asking, now what do you mean by dissolution of the body and senses? Is he asking him to commit a kind of suicide or destroy the body? Sanghata vilayam kurvan. Yes, Sanghata means this body mind complex through which we are functioning. Vilayam kurvan. Let this body go. Now, what does he mean by uh, is he asking him for some kind of physical death, destruction of the body and senses, destruction of the vehicle? It is not so. You know, body is like an instrument. Just as you are using your car, whenever you want, you sit inside the car, drive the car. Whenever you do not want, you come out of the car. In a way, you are not attached to the car. You are not the car. You know, like that, the people who have realized the self, they use the body only as a vehicle. Body is only vehicle for it, Sangata. It is only an instrument. They use it only as an instrument. In no way they are attached to the body. And therefore, last verse we have seen, no kind of fear remains. What is the greatest fear we have? Abhinivesha klesha, fear of death. Why? Because we have got a firm conviction that my existence depends upon the body. इसलिए हमें देहाभिमान हमारे अंदर है. उनका देहाभिमान नष्ट हो गया है, और जिसका देहाभिमान नष्ट हो जाता है वो शरीर को केवल एक इंस्ट्रूमेंट जैसा यूज करता है. इट इज ओनली एन इंस्ट्रूमेंट फॉर हिम. सो dissolve your instrument, go beyond your body. That is what Ashtavakra is telling. Sanghata vilayan kurvan evam eva layam vraja. देहाभिमान पूरी तरह से छोड़ दो. Now the next laya is the laya of the mind. Udayati bhavato vishwam varidhe iva budbudah iti ज्ञात्वा एकम आत्मानम एवं एव लयम व्रज. So Udayati Bhavato Vishwam Varideva Budbuddha. Just as a bubble comes in the ocean, Varideva Budbuddha. It appears as if it has got separate existence. A wave or a bubble in the ocean, when it comes, it appears as if bubble has a separate existence than the ocean. But it is only ocean, it is another form of आकर. ये तो केवल नाम रूपात्मक. इस प्रकार वो नाम रूप जो होता है, इट इज नॉट रियल एग्जिस्टेंस. ओके, सो ये पूरा जो विश्व है, इट इज लाइक ए बबल इन द ओशन. वॉट एवर यू आर ऑब्जर्विंग एज द वर्ल्ड, all the experiences are of the world are like bubble in the ocean. They are the waves in your mind. ये जो पूरा आपको विश्व का अनुभूति आ रही है, वो क्या है? आपकी केवल चित्तवृत्तियां हैं. वर्ल्ड इज ए प्रोजेक्शन ऑफ माइंड. Yoga Vasishtha also tells the same way. Ashtavakra is also telling the same way. What is the world? World is a projection of mind. So long as those chitta vrittis are there, you get the experience of the world. If there are no chitta vrittis, there is no world. That is why in deep sleep you do not find any world at all. In samadhi, there is no world at all, because they are only the chitta vritti. Udayati bhavato vishwam varidheriva budbudaha iti jnatam ekam atmanam evam eva layam vraja. So if you know that Atman is only one, know Atman to be one, and dissolve the idea of duality. Dissolve this mind. Because this mind only is creating the world for you. The experiences of world are because of the mind. If there is no mind, there is no word. So जिस प्रकार a bubble becomes separated apparently from the ocean, mind brings out the world for you. If you are with Atman, if you are with that supreme consciousness, then there is no word. Dissolve the mind in that supreme consciousness. This is called मनोलय. इसमें वो मनोलय बता रहे हैं. तो इस श्लोक में मनोलय करने के लिए अष्टावक्र कह रहे हैं जनक को. तो जगत का आभास केवल मनोवृत्तियों द्वारा होता है, जैसे पानी में बुदबुदा होता है. मनोलय के साथ विश्व का लय हो जाएगा. So that is what he is telling him in the second verse. In the third verse, he is telling him to dissolve the intellect. So what we are actually, we are the body, we are the mind, we are the intellect, and we are the ego. At four levels, if there is complete, laya means dissolution, merging the individual consciousness with universal consciousness is known as laya, total dissolution. So now he is telling, dissolve your intellect also. Okay. प्रत्यक्षम अपि अवस्तुत्वात् विश्वम नास्ति अमले त्वयि रज्जु सर्पमिवं व्यक्तम एवं एव लयम व्रज. You see the universe even though it is unreal, like snake in the rope. रज्जु सर्पम इवं व्यक्तम. ये सारा जो जगत तुम देख रहे हो वो रज्जु सर्पवत है. Just as you see snake in the rope. Why? Because there is no knowledge. There is no right knowledge. Therefore, world is appearing before you as the snake appears in rope. Very familiar simile, which we have studied several times, is given here by Ashtavakra to Janaka also. So, pratyaksham api avastutvat. जब भी तुमको वो प्रत्यक्ष दिखाई दे रहा है, though you are experiencing the world through your sense organ, you are seeing, you are smelling, पंच ज्ञानेन्द्रियों द्वारा जगत की अनुभूति तुमको आ रही है, प्रत्यक्ष ज्ञान तुमको हो रहा है, परंतु वो अवस्तुत्वात्, देयर इज नो रियलिटी इन इट, देयर इज नो मटीरियल रियलिटी इन द वर्ल्ड. विश्वम नास्ति अमले त्वयि. इफ यू आर अमले, if you are pure being, if you are pure consciousness, for you there is no word. Though it appears to you like the snake in the rope. Rajju sarpam ivam vyaktam evam eva layam vraja. So if that intellectual understanding comes, the intellect will dissolve in the supreme reality. It will not separate you from the supreme reality. तो ये बुद्धि के स्तर पर लय बताया गया है. Because it is the buddhi which is separating you from the universal consciousness. It is the supreme I consciousness which is coming because of the intellect. It is the intellect which is separating you from the whole universe. Okay. So if laya of intellect takes place, you will know. How you will know it? With the right knowledge dawning upon you. When the light comes, you see that it is only the rope. There was never a snake there. It was not existing at all. वो तो केवल आभासात्मक था. वैसा ही पूरा विश्व आभासात्मक है. अवस्तुत्वात्, वस्तु है ही नहीं. इट इज नॉट एक्चुअली एग्जिस्टिंग. केवल आभासात्मक है. So knowing the knowledge of this fact will dissolve your intellect. That is what Ashtavakra is telling to Janaka. The last verse in this particular chapter number 5, Samadukha Sukha Purna Asha Nairashyayo Samaha Samajivita Mrityu San Evameva Layam Vraja. Now the dissolution of ego. The highest dissolution is the dissolution of ego. Ahankara Nasha. So what he is saying? You are the whole, Purna, Sama Dukkha Sukha Purnam, आशा नैराश्ययो समः समम जीवित मृत्यु सम एवमेव लयम वज. What ordinary people is feeling? He is feeling sukha and dukha. He is feeling hope and despair. He is feeling the idea of life and death. So, ordinary person is suffering from so many conflicts. One who has reached that Purnatva, Purnam, he will be beyond these conflicts. So, what Ashtavakra is saying, that you are complete, you are Purna, you are beyond conflict of pain and pleasure, आशा नैराश, सम दुख सुख, सुख और दुख सम ही है तुम्हारे लिए. आशा नैराश्यो समः, hope and disappointment, hope and despair is one and the same for you. समजीवित मृत्यु, जीवन और मृत्यु भी तेरे लिए सम ही है. एवमेव लयम व्रज. If you have this knowledge, if you have that purnatva, then you will go beyond all these conflicts. If you go even, if you have that samatva, then ego will dissolve in supreme consciousness. It is because of the ego, that is the, what is ego? Individual consciousness is known as ego. Because of that individuality, you are separated from the universal consciousness. Once that individuality is there, all sorts of conflicts will come to you. Sukha, dukkha, asha, nirasha, janma, mrityu. All these conflicts are troubling you because of your ego. If the equanimity comes, if you have that equanimity in sukha and dukkha, in asha and nirasha, in hope and despair, in life dissolve in universality. That is the dissolution of ego is talking about. So, अष्टावक्र जनक को कह रहे हैं कि तुम तो पूर्ण हो, सुख दुख समान ही है. ये समत्व के साथ अब तुम अहंकार का भी लय करो. जब तक ये अहंकार है तब तक सुख दुख, आशा निराशा, जन्म मृत्यु के द्वंद्व मनुष्य के जीवन में रहते. तुम द्वंद्वातीत हो जाओ. यू गो बियॉन्ड ऑल दिस कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स. कैसे द्वंद्वातीत हो जाओ? पूर्णत्व का. यू आर इन पूर्णत्वम, यू आर द होल बीइंग, यू आर इन सुप्रीम कॉन्शियसनेस. सो डिसॉल्व योर ईगो इनटू सुप्रीम कॉन्शियसनेस. तो सारे स्क्रिप्चर्स में ये अहंकार नाश की साधना जो बताई गई है, इट इज द सुप्रीम साधना इन ऑलमोस्ट ऑल द स्क्रिप्चर्स, whether it is Bhagavad Gita, whether it is Ashtavakra Gita, whether it is Yoga Vasishta, Ahankara Nasha. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, how much he has done for elimination of ego, because it is only the ego which is the barrier between you and the supreme reality. So he is asking him to dissolve this ego. So these are the four important dissolutions which is known as Laya Yoga, which has been told by Ashtavakra to Janaka. 4 प्रकार के लय, शारीरिक स्तर पर, मानसिक स्तर पर, बुद्धि के स्तर पर, अहंकार के स्तर पर. ये 4 प्रकार के लय होने से वैयक्तिक चेतना वैश्विक चेतना में लय होगी. एंड देन यू विल हैव दैट सुप्रीम कॉन्शियसनेस. नाउ इन दिस आल्सो there is a real test which has been given to Janaka, and how Janaka passes that state we shall see next time when we meet. तो जैसा कि मैंने कहा कि ये भी एक प्रकार का गुगली फेंका हुआ है अष्टावक्र ने. इट इज नॉट एज स्ट्रेट एज इट लुक्स. तुम सब लय करो. तो अभी अगले चैप्टर में ये बता रहे हैं कि मेरे पास कुछ होगा तो मैं लय करूंगा ना. If you have something left in you, then only you can dissolve. So next chapter, Janaka is to tell him that nothing is left in you. It is a very minute. This is the text where lot of meditation is required to understand the questions as well as the answers. So next time we shall see answer of Janaka, which has been given to Ashtavakra. A very beautiful dialogue between Ashtavakra and Janaka. Anyway, we have exceeded the time, so we shall stop here. And next time we shall go to chapter number 6. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrutyorma Amrutangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat.